Wow. I never thought I'd be able to do this ever again.
Good afternoon, Jank enthusiasts! I'm MBT, and this is 10-Minute Testing. Finally, a new pack! God, I was getting sick of having to slog through the dregs of Aelin. Monster Mayhem is out, provided you live in the great, powerful, and stable United States of America, of course, which means we need to look at the archetypes contained therein. Presenting Orcust. So here's the list. As always, I'll give you a background about the archetype, a little bit of a discussion about what I hope the deck can do, and of course the card by card. But first, this video is sponsored by Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck. Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck is a one-stop shop for all things Yu-Gi-Oh! They're responsible for the pack opener that makes series like Progression possible. They've got strategy articles for those looking to flesh out their fundamentals. They're the most complete repository of deck lists and results from regionals and YCSs online. And they've also got cube and draft infrastructure that's finally seeing use now that Yu-Gi-Oh! Players have come to the light of Limited. There's a good chance that any Yu-Gi-Oh! Content you see on YouTube has Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro Deck's many tendrils somewhere within its DNA. So why not go to the source and improve your game, draft with friends, or just see what 11-year-olds are playing in their Blue Eyes decks this month? Head on over to YGOPRODECK.com. Now back to the video. With that, let's ogle Orcust. Orcust is a series of monsters that puts an answer to the age-old question, is it ethical to reanimate your dead sister? Just as Ningirsu foolishly attempted to bring Ib back to life, so too has this deck been decimated and revived more times than I can count. This combination of Dr. Frankenstein's laboratory and a middle school band classroom is responsible for some of Yu-Gi-Oh's best formats. So when several of the cards that made the metronome tick ended up banned, we knew it was just a matter of time until we got them back. Unfortunately, we got them back a few formats back. And aside from a smattering of regional successes, they haven't accomplished much since the band got back together. Until now. Galatea-i, the Orcust automaton, reads like a custom card designed by Ningirsu himself. Meant to be the hollow shell of Galatea left behind when Ib exits the body, this card's taken on a life of its own. A Link one, it enables every single Orcust to become a starter, and searches both Babel and a World Legacy, smoothing out hands in a deck known for trying to play with big, meaty claws. Alongside a new form for Ningirsu and Lil Girsu, it also finally gives the deck something to do after the Dark Lock. The end result is a deck that's a consistent and powerful strategy, but regrettably finds itself among a field of other consistent and powerful strategies. Will it be enough? Who can say? So with that, let's get into the card by card. First up, the Orcusts. Unsurprisingly, we are playing 3 copies of Girsu, 3 copies of Orcust Harpor, 3 copies of Orcust Symbol Skeleton, 2 copies of Orcust Nightmare, still kind of a card you don't want to draw, 1 World Wand, and 1 World Crown. This card, unfortunately, is an integral part of pretty much all of the combos, but it's also a necessary part of the end board, a free point of interaction that you just get over the course of doing your linear play. We've got 3 Imseti, 1 copy of Happy, and 1 copy of Duomatef. I am playing the Horuses in here, but I want to iterate right now. You don't have to. You can play a ton of different things in these slots. The Fiendsmiths, Mitsurugi are not bad. The thing is, I know that if I put the Fiendsmith in here, you all will yell at me for it. So these are good enough extenders that do enable some power plays in Photon. After that, we've got Orchestrated Return, a Foolish Burial, a King Sark, an Orchestrated Babel, and a Crescendo. For the non-engine, we're on 3 Foolos, 3 Perulia, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Forbidden Droplet, a Called by a Triple Tack, and Triple Dominus Impulse. That's right, it's an Impulse deck. In the extra, we've got 2 copies of Galatea-i, the Orcust Automaton. 1 Orcust World Legacy monster makes this bad girl. She can be link summoned once per turn, and she can't be used as material for an Xyz summon, so you can't put her underneath a Typhon or, more realistically, a Dingirsu. You can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to add a World Legacy or a Babel from your deck or graveyard to your hand. If this card is in your graveyard, you can banish an Orcust card from your graveyard to special summon this card. Of course, that becomes a quick if the Babel is up. Both of those are hard onces. We've got a Masquerena, a Barricade Borg blocker, just 2 discard cards from our grip. SP Little Knight, 2 Galatea Old Mode, 1 Long Girsu, 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Enlil Girsu, which can be made with 2+ monsters, including an Orcust Link. You can target a banished Orcust or World Legacy and add it to your hand. Then if you can shuffle the card from your hand into the deck and take control of a face-up monster your opponent controls. During the main phase of if this is in your graveyard because it was sent there from the EMZ this turn, you could banish it to send a card on the field to the graveyard. That's right, it's a Snatch Steal at quick speed with Babel up that punishes your opponent for removing it. We're playing one copy of Photon Lord since we're on the 8s already, alongside Dinkirsu, the zombie vampire for the 8s as well, and we're not a bad Typhon strategy. In the side, we've got Artifact Lancia, Droll and Lockbird, Mistaken Arrest, Harpy's Feather Duster, Crossout Designator, Foolish Burial Goods, Black Goat Laughs, and Mischief of the Gnomes. So with that, let's hop into some games. Our first match is up against Dragon Ruler. Really cool deck, unfortunately has not drawn a hand trap. Let me show you our deck's bread and butter combo. We're going to begin with a copy of Imseti. We're going to grab a King Sarcophagus from our deck to our hand and a draw, and then we're going to King Sark away this Symbol Skeleton so we can set a copy of Duamatef. Let's summon a couple of these guys and get a little bit of protection before we go for our mainline combo. Here, Harpor into Galatea-i. We'll trade this Foolos for an Orchestrated Babel, bring back this Duamatef before we're Dark Locked, and then use Harpor to grab an Orcust Mech Knight. We're going to use the effect of the Gearsuit to send an Orcust Nightmare, and then we're going to link off for a Galatea, Orcust Nightmare for a World Wand, bring back the Orcust Nightmare, and because we have an Errant Link material, we can make an IP Masquerena as well. Let's use Galatea, the Orcust Automaton's effect, to send an Orcust Crescendo, then Galatea-i to bring itself back on the way to Long Gearsu. We'll Symbol Skeleton back out old Galatea so we can overlay for a Ding Gearsu, attach this Harpor, and then of course just link it off for an Enlil Gearsu. We'll activate its effect to get follow-up, activate the Orchestrated Babel, and pass turn. But we're not done yet. In standby phase, we will activate the Graveyard effect of Galatea 1 because of course it is a quick under Babel. Then we'll activate her effect in order to cycle for a World Crown. We'll use Orcust Nightmare to send a copy of World Wand and use its secret effect to summon out the World Crown for one more point of interaction. Our opponent's going to lead with a copy of Wraithsoth into Unicorn. Unicorn effect to grab a Birth. They'll activate Birth. I think that's probably the most consequential thing they have going, so we'll crescendo that. They'll go to battle phase, and we will fire Enlil Gearsu in order to take their monster. From here, we can activate their Unicorn, which I don't know if that's how it works. Ask your head judge. Afterwards, we're going to go for Reactin for a Redox, followed by a Rise Heart. That's 2 7s. Name of the game is to keep them off of a rank 7. We will go ahead and get rid of the Rise Heart. They will triple Tactics Talents. We will take off that Redox, so they'll have to commit further. And as they go into their second monster by way of Redox into Tidal, we can just activate the Yard effect of Enlil Gearsu in order to keep them off it. They'll scoop. So a lot of the time, you're going to be able to make a pretty powerful board on the play. But often going second is kind of a cakewalk. Between Dingirsu and the Horuses, occasionally you can just steal wins. Such is the case in our second game versus Gem Knight. Is this a deck you'd all want to see on 10-minute testing? I just sort of assumed that Block Dragon would be back when I had to start talking about it. We're going second, and we've drawn Perulia, which is nice. They're going for the Master Duel Classic. Senningen into Golem the Guards of Millennium Treasures, into Doomed Dragon, into Protection. Here the Galatea-i's Photon Lord before the Dispersion. Dispersion here for a Hollow Core. They're going to use it to send a copy of Gem Knight Fusion. Then we'll draw a card off the Perulia as they go for the second Dispersion in order to make a copy of Lady Rose. Neprim triggers here. They're going to summon it to their side of the field and activate its effect in order to grab a Quartz. They'll go Phantom Quartz here and activate the effect in order to grab another copy of Neprim, then Fusion's effect in Yard to bring itself back, Rose's effect in Yard, and then Rose's effect on field in order to modulate, sending another Hollow Core into a Masquerena. Phantom Quartz here in order to perform the Fusion function. 3 of these bad boys back for a Master Diamond Dispersion, into Phoenix, into a Baoaku. A Baoaku can pitch this infinitely recyclable Gem Knight Fusion and grab back this Masquerena before they go for the Dispersion for a copy of Lady Diamond and Aquamarine. We'll draw for turn, and, well, we'll lead called by and followed up with a Droplet for 3. Okay, from here we just win. We'll go King Sarcophagus, send this Impulse, get a copy of Happy in the Yard, summon 2, and go to battle phase. That's 26 plus lethal. So it's time for game 3, and you know what that means, a best of 3 versus meta. Our opponent's playing what else but Mitsurugi Raziel. But before you click off, this deck has been evolving in recent weeks. You can see some of the changes splayed out in front of you. Fewer copies of 7th Tachyon, pre-preparation of rights, climbing more consistently into main decks. The mirrors even in the opener. Let's see how it performs as it goes first. They're going to begin with a copy of Habakiri. That's going to grab a Saji and send it to the Yard. Saji effect because it's been tributed. We'll get a copy of Ritual. They'll fire the Ritual. We'll fire the Impulse. They'll fire this copy of Prayers, pitching the Habakiri, and we'll Ash Blossom here. Maybe a little too happy to fire the Ash because afterwards they'll go for Habakiri, but I wasn't really expecting Futsu with the hard-drawn mirror, now was I? Futsu triggers here, as does Ame Habakiri. They're going to go for Sword Raziel. That's full combo. Sword Raziel for Ext. The Ext doesn't trigger here, but they'll just end on a detonator, I suppose. They'll set 1 card and pass back to us. This is a lot to chew through. Ugh, and Fuwalos is a little late. We'll start with this copy of Imseti, and oh, our worst fears have been realized. It's Ash Blossom. We'll go for Gearsu. They are going to negate it by way of their trap card. They'll chain block their Habakiri by way of the mirror as well. We can Foolish Burial for an Orcust Harpor and use its effect in order to bring out a Nightmare. That's going to make us a Galatea 1. Nightmare target the Galatea 1. That'll be eaten by the detonator, but we can still send this copy of World Wand to the Yard as we bring back the Nightmare. Galatea 1 can summon itself into the detonator again. Okay, can't beat that. So it's time for game 2, and our opponent has one of the worst possible hands I've ever seen a Mitsurugi Raizio player open. They do have a Fulos, but we have a little card that I think is going to do really well against it. We'll fire off Mistaken Arrest as they Fulos. Let's go for the King Sarcophagus here. We're going to activate the effect, pitching this copy of Orcust Nightmare, and pitching the Lancia as well. We'll bring out a couple of these bad boys, and then activate the effect of the Orcust Nightmare, targeting this Happy, and setting a copy of Orcust Harp Horror. I'm happy just to pass here. I think we're in a fine position. Our opponent's going to go for this Wasu into a Node Raziel, into Reptilian Echidna, targeting the Mseti. They will set one card, and at end step we can go for the Harp Horror and then the effect of the Gear Suit to send a copy of this Orcust Nightmare. We'll cycle it for a World Wand as we draw for turn another Gear Suit. Let's first go into a Galatea, bring back the Happy and the Mseti, and then normal summon the Gear Suit into an Ash Blossom. No big deal. This is a great position. We'll go to the battle phase, walk over the Echidna, then get in for 18, 24, and lethal. So it's time for that all-important Game 3, and we've drawn one piece of non-engine into full combo plus Ash Blossom. Okay, well, go off, King. Our opponent's going to begin by normal summoning this copy of Ice. Ice is going to summon from deck a copy of Ext. They already have access to the sword, so they'll use the Ext to get a copy of Node. From here, they're going to go into Duo Drive, activate the effect of the Duo Drive, grab 2 cards, and then special out the Node effect in order to cycle back the Ext, and from this position, they can overlay for a copy of Detonator attaching from the yard. From here, they're going to special out the Sword Raziel, activate its effect in order to grab an Ext again, then use the Ext sending a Twins. They're going to go for the Cross into a King of the Fairlimps, King of the Fairlimps in order to grab a Habakiri, then Habakiri effect in order to grab a copy of Saji. They'll tribute this King, and then trigger the effect of the Saji in order to grab from deck to hand a copy of Ritual. Ritual here is going to go crazy. Ritual summoning out the Habakiri by sending a copy of an Aramasa and a Kusanagi. They're going to cycle back this copy of Ritual, then afterwards they will go ahead and fire the Ritual in order to make a copy of Ame, Futsu rather. They went Ame already. Ame will bring itself back, adding a Prayers to hand in the sequence as Mirror brings out the Habakiri, ending on Futsu and the Trap as well. Finally, Ice Raziel sending this copy of Habakiri so they have 2 4s on their side of the field for a Tornado Dragon. Hilarious stuff. They're going to lead Detonator into our Orchestrated Babel. Disastrous. Let's normal summon this Gearsu, no effect, into galatea-i, into Great Purification. Yeah, that's as bad as it gets. They'll Futsu and Mirror here. That allows them to shuffle back the Mirror and bring back the Futsu as well. I guess we can Harp Horror. They'll Ame. I'll happily discard a card for that. Look at this Happy. And then they'll just negate it at res with Cross anyway. We'll bring back galatea-i. Here comes Futsu, bringing back this copy of Habakiri, and let's just scoop it up. So we're back with the deck, and, well, losing to Mitsurugi Raziel's not a terrible place to be. Let's do the pros and cons. First, the pros. 1, it's consistent. Been a while since I've gotten to bust that one out. Because every Orcust is now something resembling a full combo, you don't ever end up in these Farfian situations that Orcust was previously known for. A skeleton staring down every negate in the known universe. 2, boy, it feels good to be playing a competent deck that can jam Impulse. There aren't a lot of them. And 3, there's a ton of build variation. I spoke about this earlier, but what you're seeing here is as pure as I feel comfortable playing. That said, you could easily slot in some Mitsurugis, some Fiendsmith monsters, provided you're not too concerned with viewer retention. And the cons. 1, so, like Hero, there's a lot of cards in here that aren't Garnets, but nonetheless feel like hot ass to open. The Legacies, Babel, Crescendo, the off Horuses, you kind of have to expect that one of the cards in your hand just isn't going to do anything. 2, there's a lot in here that's still generally clunky. Galatea-i does smooth most situations out, but the extra is tighter than you'd like. You have to double up on some cards that feel single use. You don't have too much room there for experimentation. And 3, the ceiling. It's hard to justify a floor deck like this one in a format where Malice and Mitsurugi Raziel can just do cold fusion. Overall, is Ebe back? Well, maybe not in the substantial way that Ningirsu would hope, but certainly you will see more of her at both the regional, local, and YCS level in the upcoming format. So that's that. Thanks so much for watching. These 10-minute testings are made possible by, and occasionally suggested by, my patrons, some of whom have paid a fair amount of money to be mentioned at the end of the episode. Here they are: Elena Tincher, Alex Perea, Allison Elliott, Ally, Anthony S. Sierri, APK, Burly Tier 0, Brett Henry, Cameron Noer, Cool Name, Damon O'Neill, Dark Rebel XYZ, Derpin Dragon, DJ Elefante, Emiliano Deverio, NB Adams, Fabrizio Petroli, FPS Lord Derp, Garrett Ran, Hergalicious, Night Mary, Legal Rights, Luis Hernandez, Lullaby of Souls, Matthew M. DeRezzo, MBT Play Madolce, Mike Carlotti, N54 Lionheart, Nacho Gonzalez, Pombo, Project Mercury, Raymond GGEZ, Rohan Doge, Rose Lapine, Serpentax, Shelby Piet, Shifter.mp8, Sly Ninja 43, Soul CLG, Troy Says By Erasure is Gay, Who's Nick, Wonder Waffle, and Yuki Kazami. Couldn't have done it without you.